Welcome to Lanterns Live. It's Ralph, and today I am going to be doing a quick review. It's a little bit of a knee-jerk review because I just finished reading it right now, and that's Green Lantern number 14 by Jeremy Adams and art by Fernando Pasarin, with cover by Ariel Colon and a backup story by MARC Guggenheim. I'm not going to get into the secondary story that much. I find the way that MARC Guggenheim writes them, they are very short, and I don't want to spoil anything because I actually thought this issue was very, very good. I enjoyed this backup story a lot. So let me just go through that real quick. It is, let's see here, let me pop this open. It's called The Shadow Lanterns. Like I said, MARC Guggenheim with DARICK Robertson as the artist. And you can look at that page there if you can. There you go. The glare isn't too bad. It's a great story. I really like this backup story. Again, since it's only something like 6 or 7 pages long, I don't want to ruin that for you. Highly recommend you check it out. It's all about the Green Lanterns who are sort of being controlled by you know who. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is the Absolute Power tie-in, Green Lantern number 14. This cover art, didn't understand it at first. I understood it once I read the book, but it doesn't really take place. I was waiting for this moment to happen as the story progressed. When we left Hal Jordan, he had been captured by Amanda Waller. He had defeated King Shark and was going to escape and try to get his ring. In order to do that, Hal Jordan is defenseless. He doesn't have his Green Lantern ring, so he uses anything he can grab in the story in order to get the upper hand on Waller's guards. And what's kind of fun, and I don't really want to spoil it, but it's essentially Hal Jordan finding crates filled with like lower tier DC villains and using their weapons. So for example, like Kite Man, Condiment King. I don't want to give anything away, but that's the basic sort of level of hero or villain that Hal Jordan has weapons at his disposal. It doesn't quite, and sorry to spoil this part for you, but it doesn't quite get to Hal getting in the Batwing. But I think this is a funny image. So like I said, this is another Absolute Power tie-in. I'm not reading any Absolute Power. I've been very, very busy lately. And since this show is new and you get to know me, you're going to start realizing that I only read like the main Green Lantern book. That's going to change in a little while because I don't know what I did with it, but I got my hands on a copy of the first trade paperback of the new John Stewart book. So I was going to have that on hand to show you guys. Oh, it's back there. It's okay. So I'll be checking out that very soon and do that review maybe in a couple weeks. Speaking of a couple weeks, I just got another update on my Guy Gardner action figure, and it's been delayed again until about 2 weeks from now. So I may just try to go and find it out in the wild. I have a little bit of free time this weekend. I do have a lot of work to do on the movie I'm working on this weekend. So I may not, I don't know when I'm going to get that Guy Gardner unboxing and review in, but it will happen eventually. It definitely will. Thank you, everybody. I wasn't here last week, at least last Wednesday, because I was working. I can't talk about that just yet, but I'll get to that in a future episode. You'll understand why I wasn't here then. Had some free time on Saturday, so if you haven't checked it out, go over to Lanterns Live on YouTube. I now have an exclusive show where I'll be watching cartoons. Come watch cartoons with me. I watched a Filmation cartoon this week. Before I dive back into this book, let's see who's in the chat. We have Short Box Sean, who's catching it live. He's here live. Former and future guest Lucha Johnny, He's making dinner, but have a good show. I'll catch the replay. Green Lanterns podcast. Will says the ending of this confused me, but I read it at midnight when it dropped. I got no sleep last night, and I probably should have read it then, but I ended up I was working all morning. I completely crashed at around 1 in the afternoon. Woke up at 3, read the book, and now I'm here. So if I have bags under my eyes or I sound tired, it's because I just woke up, read the book. I'm going to have to read it again. I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't too keen on this issue. Overall, it was fun, which I'm glad. But the whole, the tie-in, the Absolute Power tie-in, I have zero interest in as of right now. And it seems like this is the second sort of tie-in for DC that this book has dealt with in its short run so far. I think it was issue 3 or something. They had the other one, the DC Knights or whatever it was. We'll get into that. So yeah, it wasn't every other page you're reading, if you want to know more about this, check out, JLA issue 13. And I'm like, I'm not going to go read that. So we'll get into the book. So Sarah's here. My wife Stevie's here. First time here listening while at work. Yeah, this is basically it. The comic review, because I don't really know a lot of people who read the comic the first day. I need to find somebody that can be a regular guest so I can talk to. So I'm not just talking to the screen and you guys. But so yeah, this is probably one where I'm a little bit shakier because I'm just talking to myself for a good 10-15 minutes straight. And yeah, so everybody's here. Night Terrors was the name of it, not DC Knights. It was Night Terrors, which I gotta hand it to Jeremy Adams. If DC sort of pigeonholes him into doing these tie-in events, he's doing a really good job at sort of keeping things moving. It doesn't seem like it's too disjointed from the rest of the book, but at the same time, it's the stuff that Jeremy Adams is doing in this book has been the most fun I've had since the Venditti run. So I really, really wish he would just be able to do whatever story he wants to do and not focus on doing these tie-ins. So this issue is much like Green Lantern 13, where we get Hal's main story and then a bunch of little vignettes. Again, here we have Alan Scott, who's in a chess match with an Amazo robot. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. I thought it was great. I really like Amazo in this. I think it's a lot of fun. Some of the stuff that happens here where it's robots making choices based on data as opposed to a human. There's a conversation about being human and being able to make choices. And even though that Amazo knows he will beat Alan Scott within 3 moves in their chess game, Alan continues to play because he has choice. So I really like the storyline. What's nice is this storyline converges with the Hal storyline. So the Amazo gets up and leaves during the game and goes and takes on Hal Jordan, which is really nice. Hal, for the most part, is running around. You're not going to be able to get a good view of this. Is just running around with jeans, shirtless with jeans. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, the story is pretty simple. It's Hal making an escape using villains' weapons, lower tier villains' weapons like javelin and was it the blue devil? It's he uses the blue devil's sort of trident, his little hay poker. There's not much there. There's a lot of fun stuff. It's taking you kind of through the DC universe, bringing up lower tier characters. It's a lot of fun. And then Hal gets confronted by Amazo, which again, you're not able to see this really good on the screen, but that's fine. Go get the book. The art by Fernando Pasarin is really, really good. That's another thing I don't like about books is when they switch artists during a run. I really like Zermancio. His art has been phenomenal on the book, and I was afraid to see that a new artist was coming on for this sort of crossover event. But Fernando Pasarin is doing a terrific job. So just like last time, we also get Carol's story. She's in Fate Tower with the JSA, which is kind of neat, but also it's like I'm ready for Carol to bust out user ring and start using her powers. It looks like that may happen in the next issue, but I mean it's fine. It's fine. They're in this sort of MC Escher kind of dinner table setting. It's fun. It's interesting. It's visually cool. The art is great. It's just there's not much of a story here because it's something like 4 pages. We also get back to the Great Hall of Oa, this storyline where the United Planets are talking about their sort of like taking over of Oa and taking over the Green Lantern. And what's kind of fun about it is that is their discussion is all about how, you know, the Guardians have been defeated several times during many crises. And so even though they're sitting at this power, there is a fear that they will be overthrown as well. And they're afraid to reveal themselves to the galaxy. It's a fun story, but again, it's only like 2 pages long. So I think that's my main problem with this issue is we're only getting these little snippets, which I think is fine. I think by the time we're done with this Absolute Power tie-in, we'll have like 4 solid stories. I think the Alan Scott story so far has been the shortest. And as Will says here, the Alan versus Amazo stuff, this issue and the other tie-ins is really solid. Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of this. I like the way that Alan's drawn. And he's not even like Green Lantern Alan Scott. I don't even know if he has his ring. I didn't check, but it's one of those things where, yeah, he doesn't have his ring. It's one of those things where it's like, it feels like Alan. I mean, they put him in the red shirt. It's really solid. It definitely reminds me of Green Lantern, the animated series. In the episode Blue Hope, where Aya is talking to the Manhunter in the cave, and they're trying to reason with each other on what it's like to be human and why choice is good. This is almost that exact same thing played out in this with Amazo and Alan Scott, and Jeremy Adams wrote that episode of Green Lantern, the animated series. So it's a really cool, like he's almost like taking that theme that they only got to explore in like 1/2 of a season of the animated series, and he's able to, you know, bring that into the comic and maybe flesh out that story a little bit more. Yeah. Sean also says he enjoyed the chess game. I think it might have been, it was my favorite portion. It was 3 pages. It was my favorite portion of this book because it was thoughtful. It was the Hal Jordan story took up most of it. And it was literally just like 15 pages of action, which is fine, but I'm ready to move past this and get more stories. So yeah. And Sean mentions at the ending of this issue is very excited for. He makes him very excited for the next one. I feel the same way because it does end with that Carol Ferris bit of business. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a couple of things. The Carol Ferris thing is great. It looks like she's going to be this close to becoming Star Sapphire and starting to bust heads and build a team of superheroes to help the rest of the JSA in Fate Tower. Also with Hal Jordan, his ending is interesting too, where he finds a wand. I'm not exactly sure who the wand belongs to. Maybe somebody in the chat can let me know. But as Hal's making his way and going through crates and finding all these weapons, he finds a wand. He calls them a stick thing, but they're definitely like a magic wand. I don't know if that's Zatanna or something like that, or someone low tier, because they've been doing low tier people. And he, uses it against the Mazo, and it teleports him to Themyscira, where the superhero resistance headquarters, where he finds some friends. I'll just say friends. But he also brought a bunch of crates with him, which is kind of fun. So yeah, that was really, really enjoyable. this really sets up the rest of it. Um, I'm looking for I'm looking forward to the next one because where Hal is, I very much like it. It looks like he can't charge his ring right now. He needs a battery, um, which I don't remember. I'm trying to remember back to issue 1 of this run if he needed a battery to charge his ring, because he like manifested his ring out of a manhunter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Um, so I don't know why he's not able to use his ring. Maybe it's not his ring. I'm assuming he knows it's his ring. He says it's his ring. I believe him. So where Hal is now is very exciting for next month, and where Carol is, I'm very excited for next month. Yeah. Will mentions I prefer to keep it consistent too. Yeah, it's really, I can't imagine. I'm sure that Jeremy Adams had a game plan, and they're throwing these tie-ins to the Green Lantern book, and I'm hoping that he's able to continue to keep it sort of consistent. Like, it seems fine for now, but it definitely feels like I should be reading a lot more other comics in order to get this and exactly what's going on. But for the most part, it's very, very entertaining. The very last page of the regular issue is we see the return. It's a one page, 3-panel setup with the Sorrow Lantern, Carol Ferris's ex-fiance, getting real mad. He's like crying. His eyes are white, and he's got his little emo hood on, and he's ready to go find Carol Ferris, and he says, "You will know my sorrow." So it'll be interesting to see if what the powers for this Sorrow Lantern is. He looks real mad, and he's just got like tears dripping off of him. So that should be interesting too. I'm hoping. So now we had Alan and Hal's story kind of come together, and now we have hopefully Carol and the Sorrow Lanterns, her ex-fiance's story come together, that we start closing up these gaps and just going back to one main story. I'm pretty excited to see how this goes. Again, not my favorite episode. It did feel like sort of a middle issue to set up the ending. And I even though the last issue 13 had like many chopped up stories, it's nice to see these stories sort of being fleshed out a little bit more and coming together as one. Let's look at the chat. He says, it's new, but I don't see how Carol makes sense to be in their group. Semi-babysitting. Can't wait to see the story pick up and hopefully surprise me. Yeah, it looks like Carol's pretty much on her own now. It sounds like she's going to go get help from somebody. I don't know who. And then she's going to use the Ankh, the medallion, to teleport back to Fate Tower. So I'm really interested in to see that. Will also mentions the best animated series ever. Agreed. Yeah, it's really like, that's the first thing I thought of during that chess match with Amazo was Aya and the Martian, or the Martian, or Aya and the Manhunter in the cave in Blue Hope episode. It's such an anime look to have tears in his eyes like that. Yeah, the Sorrow Lantern, it's a big question mark. It's one of those things where that we've had like gold lanterns and we now have these sort of, I don't know what you call them. They're the ones that they're able to use all the powers of the spectrum. The bad guys are using it right now. And then in this one, we have the Shadow Lanterns, which is a whole separate group in the backup story. It is weird once they start, like when a creator comes on, since Jeff Johns' run is to try to create a whole new Lantern Corps. Hopefully there's a good storyline with Sorrow. I think it can be good. I feel bad for this dude. I feel bad for Harold, or for Carol, because of what Hal did. Try to call her Harold. I was thinking about Hal and what he did to her to break up that relationship. Wasn't cool. I'm sure that's going to come back. So I'm hoping, I think we have at least one more Absolute Power tie-in with issue 15. So I'm hoping that storyline comes together and we just get down to Green Lantern Hal, Star Sapphire, and the Sorrow Lantern, and we can really sort of suss things out and get this book back to how it started, because I think this would be a great way to close out that storyline. And then no more tie-ins. No more tie-ins. I don't have time to read all that. Yeah, I have no idea what the Sorrow Lantern's going to bring, but I am very excited about that as well. It seems like there's definitely a concept involved. I don't know how he will share the sorrow with Carol, but I'm pretty excited to check that out. So yeah. So Will mentions the Shadow Lantern spot, the backup story. I didn't get into it. I think it was really, really well done for the like 6 pages you get or whatever. It's a really solid story, and the ending surprised me. And the overarching theme of basically what it is here's someone who gets a Green Lantern ring, and completely understands in their head that they're not deserving of it. Not in the way like Jessica Cruz. It's like they're like, Green Lantern rings are supposed to go to people who are brave. Green Lantern rings are supposed to go to people who are very strong. And the character that gets the Green Lantern ring is like, I know I'm neither of those things. I've seen Green Lanterns. I know what they're supposed to be like. I'm not that. So why was I chosen? And the reason why they were chosen is very interesting. And the moves that they take to sort of get past that are very interesting. It's very powerful. And I highly recommend reading the backup story. I think Mark Guggenheim is doing really, really good work on those backup stories. So I've been enjoying his stuff. Sorry, Jeremy Adams. I'm enjoying his stuff more than the Guy Gardner Lobo backup story. I think these are really good. These remind me, the Mark Guggenheim ones remind me of the old backup stories in the 80s Green Lantern, where I would just focus on one core member from the Green Lantern Corps. Really good. Really, really enjoyed it. So highly recommend it. I might have actually enjoyed the backup story more than the main story, which is usually never the case. And also like the 2 pages or 3 pages with Alan Scott the most. The rest is action, and it's really fun. It's not a heavy story. It's just a nice, fun action thing with Hal using different weapons from around the DC universe. So if anybody has any more thoughts on this, let me know in the comments below. I'm looking forward to 15. I should be around next week. I'm hoping to get that Guy Gardner book in, but if not, or that Guy Gardner toy. If I don't get that action figure in, maybe I'll do a review of Green Lantern War Journal, which I got the first trade, and I'll tell you all about that next week on Lanterns Live. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. If you're listening to this on the audio feed on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, head over and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have one exclusive video, which is that the Saturday morning cartoons, which the next time I have a free Saturday and I feel like watching a cartoon, come join me. It'll be a blast. Until then, I just want to say thank you for joining me. And until next time, beware my podcast. It's Lanterns Live. Bye.